So in this video, I'm gonna break down the 3 types of cars that I would never list on Turo ever again, so please learn from my mistakes. Over the years of doing Turo, I've had 40 plus cars that I've owned and listed on the platform. And in all my time of doing this, plus literally talking to thousands of hosts, I have come to learn about certain cars that I would never, ever list again on the platform because they were major money-losing mistakes, and it's just things that you couldn't anticipate for. Now, imagine you list a car on Turo and it ends up costing you so much more in repairs than you could have ever imagined just because of the type of vehicle it is. And it was already previously notoriously known for having extreme maintenance cost. Or, for example, the car was valued at way more than what Turo's insurance policies cover, and your car gets totaled and the coverage just wasn't there because of the limitations to the host protection plan. And then other times you have cars that are notorious for having open safety recalls, which then gets you unlisted from the Turo platform, and other types of cars where people will rent them to use for purposes that you don't really want people using your vehicles for, such as off-roading, towing, hauling things, and these are all things that can really destroy your vehicle and really just diminish the quality. And not only that, but also negate any protection that you might have. So I want to break down these 3 cars for you so that you don't make the same mistakes that I've made in the past. And sometimes eliminating cars that you shouldn't list will help you find the cars that you should list on the platform. So let's start with number 1, and that would be a Mercedes-Benz. I would never ever list a Mercedes-Benz ever again on the platform. Why? Because they are notorious for safety recalls. Now, what most new hosts don't know about the Turo platform is that if your vehicle has an open safety recall, it will automatically get delisted off the platform until that safety recall is taken care of and there is a fix in place for it. Now, this process can get very complicated, and over the years, I've seen that Mercedes-Benz in particular has been notorious for these recalls. Now, in my years of doing this, I've had 2 C300 Mercedes-Benzes and 1 E450. Out of the 3 cars, 2 of them experienced open safety recalls. And I remember my E450 being down for almost 4 months before I was just fed up and decided to sell the car because it was losing so much money due to the safety recall. Problem with the safety recalls is that there's nothing you can do about it until the manufacturer has a fix for it, and then that order goes down to the dealerships, and then the dealerships can implement that fix. So it's really frustrating because sometimes it can be months on end until there is a fix, and until you get it fixed, you cannot get it relisted on the Turo platform. Now, luckily, Turo has really improved their process when it comes to safety recalls. Before, they would wait for it to update in the NHTSA database, which is the national database for safety recalls. But now, if you can go ahead and go to your dealership, get that fixed, and get documentation for that, Turo will accept that documentation and get your vehicle relisted. I love transportation.gov, and I am going to post these links down in the description below, because you can actually comb the NHTSA database and see which vehicles are notorious for open safety recalls and avoid those at all costs. Now, I cannot emphasize enough the fact that if you get into a car that is well known for having recalls, you're going to have many months of lost profit and revenue because it is going to be delisted off the Turo platform. Now, I'm pretty sure that Turo runs a system every single day that checks every VIN number on the platform for an open safety recall, and they compare it against the NHTSA database. So don't think that you can just slip under the radar if there is an open safety recall, because their system will catch it based on the VIN number. So here I'm going to show you guys exactly how you can go through the NHTSA website. You can look at manufacturers that have open safety recalls by percentage to see who is the most known for it. And then you can even go down to the components, what type of things go wrong with these vehicles. Now, if you see for Mercedes-Benz, they are known for having major airbag issues, which of course You don't want your renters, let alone yourself, driving a vehicle that is having issues with airbags. So you want to avoid this stuff at all costs. Now, let me give you guys a pro tip, something that I've done over the years to help avoid this exact situation. Now, the best part of the NHTSA website is that you can search a vehicle by its VIN number. So when you're getting ready to purchase a vehicle, you've done your research, you see what car could work well, you can usually find the VIN number to that vehicle. Just quickly take a few minutes, grab that VIN number, and plug it into the NHTSA database to see if it has any open safety recalls, because the dealerships might not disclose that to you. That way you can save yourself a lot of headache and hassle before you make a financial commitment to a vehicle. So Mercedes-Benz gets a big X for me, and a car I would never list again because just so many hosts have had this experience, including myself. Of 2 out of 3 cars having recalls, no thank you. I think I can find a better car to list on the platform. So once again, these links are down in the description below, and you can kind of comb through it and do a little bit of research. Now, if you want to learn more about the right type of car that you should list on the platform, well, this information comes from doing a lot of market research and finding the correct data points. So you can check out my website, powerhost.club, take the course, and learn exactly how to find that right car, because it is crucial to gaining the maximum amount of margins. The next type of car that I would never list again on Turo, and this is more of a category, is trucks. Now, of course, this is market dependent, but in my years of doing this and knowing hosts all across the US, most markets don't cope well with trucks. There are, of course, some exceptions like places in Texas and a few other markets here and there, but overall, trucks are just not top performers on the Turo marketplace, if you will. Now, years ago, I had a beautiful Chevy Silverado Z51 package, a gorgeous red interior, extended cab. I mean, it was everything you could possibly look for in a truck. And I was so excited to list it on the platform. And this was really before I knew how to do market research and really find the data behind what worked. So I got this new Chevy Silverado, got a great deal on it, listed it on the platform. Now, things were slow to start off with, but slowly it started picking up some bookings. Immediately right off the bat, the number one thing that I noticed about listing a truck on Turo is that most people were using it for what Turo considers prohibited uses. So people wanted to rent out my truck mainly to move things, haul things, tow things, push things, and go off-roading. And these are all things that are considered prohibited by Turo. And also they really do affect the quality of the vehicle, and they can really destroy it very, very quickly. My truck started coming back with damages, scratches, nicks, bumps, everything you can imagine, because people were trying to tow things, they were trying to move things, they were moving house, furniture, and it is just really rough when you have a truck. And the thing is, at the end of the day, Turo is not U-Haul, right? We are not listing our cars so that people can use them, in place of U-Haul to move things, right? You want people to rent your cars to go out on an adventure and enjoy themselves. And so this was becoming a huge issue, and one that I know many, many hosts were facing. Now, the problem with utilizing cars for these prohibited uses is that it can really affect your vehicle. People were towing things that they probably didn't know how to tow properly, which is throwing off my alignment, my suspension, my shocks, and it was just not good. Another thing is weight capacity, which is also prohibited on Turo. Most renters don't know what the weight capacity of a vehicle is, especially trucks. So you don't know what they're loading, what they're moving around, and how that might be wearing out your vehicle. So that is another car that I would never list again. And just months later, I had to sell that vehicle because it was just causing so many problems. The other thing that I noticed with trucks is that people usually tend to travel quite far. They're not usually renting a truck because they're going out to date night, or it's a birthday, a weekend celebration. It's typically because they are traveling far and they're trying to take stuff with them, whether that's off-roading, camping, towing, trailers, anything like that. And that's not really what you want your truck to be utilized for, because it is definitely going to experience a lot of wear and tear. And yes, in some markets, trucks do very well. They are highly sought after. There is a stronger truck culture, but here in Southern California, Definitely not the case in Northern California, definitely not the case. And you will see that likely, that same pattern likely repeat itself across many, many markets. So it's very important that you do your market research if you are considering listing a truck, because they mostly do not perform well on the platform and they can create a lot of headaches for you as a host. There are also some other exceptions, right? Times are changing, new cars are coming out. There is a Rivian truck, which is the new all-electric truck that came out that I saw listed in the San Francisco area, I believe. And because it is so unique, one of a kind, and there's virtually none other Rivians listed on the Turo platform, that one is absolutely crushing it in the Bay Area. So you can have these kind of outliers and anomalies that will do well, but they are few and far between. So you want to make sure you do that market research. Now, real quick, if you're enjoying this video as much as I am making it, make sure you hit that like button and do subscribe to the channel. And let's move on to number 3. Supercars would be the third category that I would absolutely stay far away from for multiple reasons. Now, maintenance alone on supercars like your Ferraris, your Lamborghinis can be extremely expensive. And sometimes it's really difficult to make the math work out between cost of ownership and what you could potentially get on a day rate when you're listing it on the Turo platform. Because of course, when you list on Turo, you are taking only a certain percentage of what that day rate is, and that really cuts into your margins. Now, another thing that a lot of people don't know about is that there is a max value on a vehicle that Turo's host protection plans will cover. So in the event that your car gets totaled, if the value of your vehicle exceeds what they cover, you will not get the remainder of the balance. So for example, recently Turo has made a change to where they now cover up to $200,000 in the actual cash value of a vehicle. Now, last year, this used to be $125,000. So that's a pretty big difference. They have increased that limit by $75,000. Now, let's say, for example, you buy some crazy Ferrari at, $300,000. Car gets totaled, they are only going to cover up to $200,000 in a perfect world, depending on how the numbers work out. So, in theory, you would be out at least $100,000 in the value of that car. So that's another reason is it's hard to get full coverage if you go the full supercar route. Now, mostly on Turo, you will notice if there are any supercars that are listed, they tend to be a bit older. So they will at least be 5, 6, 7 years older, if not more, because Turo does give you up to 12 years on that. Now, the thing that I could never make sense of is when you have an older supercar on the platform that is getting decent utilization throughout the month from all different types of drivers, I don't know how a host can keep up with the maintenance. It's very difficult for the average host to do that. Now, there are some hosts out there that, of course, are plugged in really well to body shops. Maybe they own body shops, maybe they own a mechanic service, and that can be a huge leg up in the game, which could potentially just maybe make it make sense to have a supercar on the platform. But what I've seen throughout the years is what most people do who want to get into the supercar game is that they typically end up venturing off on their own and having their own car rental company, private, off of Turo, and then they run it that way. They'll adopt commercial insurance so that they can take in the maximum amount of margins possible. Now, for the supercars that do well on the platform, I think there are some small segments in the US that could potentially turn a profit. Places like Miami, Beverly Hills, areas like that do have demand for supercars, but at the same time, you do end up competing with a lot of private car rental companies that offer the same service as well. So it is competitive in the areas where it does work and very costly everywhere else. So it's a category I would stay away from because it could potentially end up with a lot of financial liability and risk that you don't want to have. So to recap all of this, very important, you want to avoid certain cars that are known to have major recall issues such as Mercedes-Benz's, and you can go to the NHTSA database down in the description below. I'm posting the link if you want to, kind of explore and do some research on other makes and models that you might have in mind. For most markets on Turo, you want to stay away from listing pickup trucks. This can be a huge source of wear and tear on the vehicle, and they usually don't turn a profit or a margin. And make sure you just do that market research to justify listing a pickup truck before you do. And then finally, supercars. If you have that dream of listing a supercar on Turo, I don't mean to burst your bubble, but it is very difficult to make the numbers work, mainly because maintenance is extremely expensive and the margins just aren't there. So these are a few things that you guys want to watch out for. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Comment below. Let me know what you think. What types of cars are you listing? And let me know what else you guys are curious about when it comes to Turo. Once again, hope you guys have enjoyed this. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, show your support, and I look forward to talking to you guys down below.